I am so pleased to inform you that in 2024, here in this earlier time slot, we're going to continue with the Wednesday Wrangle. I'm joined on the desk by Late Debate co-host Liz Storer. Great to see you, Liz. And in Melbourne by broadcaster, commentator, author Justin Smith. Thanks for joining us. We're going to wrangle our way through. And why don't we start with this? I've been a federal parliamentary staffer. I know what a good gig that is, right? There's all sorts of perks. Bloody hard work if you do it well.
Sure.
But all sorts of perks, and people do it partly out of love, right? And Justin, putting in for a 20% pay rise, that's just ridiculous, isn't it? It shows that they're stuck in the Canberra bubble and out of touch.
Yeah, I think a few days as a journalist, mate, I think I made you earn that money too, which I seem to remember. Yeah, so 20%, that's a whack of cash. You do get the feeling this is one of those kind of let's shoot for the stars and see if we can land on the moon kind of exercise. They put up 20% and hope that it lands on 4% or 5%. Yeah, it is a tough job, but it's not going to fly. I say good luck to them, but I think it's fairyland.
Yeah, I don't know that it helps Anthony Albanese and the government, though, Liz, that they're pushing for this while the government's trying to deal with a cost of living squeeze. It just sort of reflects badly on the whole lot, doesn't it?
And it creates a bigger divide between us and them. People already see that public servants at large, especially staffers, I would say. I too have been a staffer for almost 10 years. And yes, some of them earn their keep. Others of them
most definitely not.
Did you?
Yes.
And I did, because it's from the top down. It depends on the members you're working for. And the members I worked for were like robo bunnies, man. These guys worked hard. And therefore, as a staffer, you were working hard too. I used to wonder what vitamins these guys took, because they were much older than me and yet working around the clock. So some of them are exemplary and earn every cent. And these staffers are the same. Some members of parliament deserve far more than they're actually paid. And others of them, every single cent is a waste and a drain on the taxpayer.
I worked so hard running the former foreign minister's office that I started with hair. And I've got the pictures to prove it. But the thing is, Albo's trying to talk about all these issues. Here he is today, spruiking his broken promise tax cut plan.
Peter Dutton and David Littleproud is saying that they want higher taxes for 12 million Australians.
Bit rough, isn't it, Justin? Him trying to put the pressure on the coalition now. He's the one who broke the promise. There are tax cuts there already legislated.
Well, unfortunately, that's the way the modern politician is. When you're in a bit of strife, you always try and push it back onto someone else. And I've said to you before, it just appalls me that anyone who is in government keeps bringing up the opposition. These are his policies to answer to, and some people are going to agree with him, some people are going to disagree with him. I think he certainly took a hit over this broken promise. But pushing it back onto the opposition, God, it gets boring. It gets so dull. And I just wonder, apart from the stoogey party faithful, I just wonder who that really, who that attracts. I wonder how it helps. I don't get it.
I think it's a bit of a misjudgment. I understand the politics of it. I understand putting the pressure on the coalition. We all get that. But I just think it makes them look even trickier, and they're playing political games instead of running the economy. Just before I get your thoughts on that, Liz, I just want to play a little bit more Albo into you, because I just love this grab. This is classic, a man damned by his own words.
I've always been a man of my word, and I believe that when you go to an election and you make commitments, you should stick to them.
Whatever happens with the tax cuts, we're going to be seeing that during the next election campaign.
100%. And look, there's no getting around the fact that he lied. He knew he was going to change them and he lied. But I do think that's already getting tired. The point is, these guys are winning with this line of, well, this many millions of Australians are now better off. It's working. The Resolve polling yesterday showed 45% of Aussies are more than happy with it. And that sounds small when you say, oh, well, that's not the majority. But the other 55% was split up between three different questions. But some of them thought that no tax cut should go through. The bottom line is we know that no government makes this kind of decision without first polling it to the back teeth and knowing that not only will it not hurt them electorally, but it's going to give them a net gain at the election box. He figured that out before he did it. So now it's quite farcical for him to be parading around as a martyr, being like, well, you know, I'm here to do what's right, not what's popular. We heard that a lot from Dan Andrews over the pandemic, and then found out that the entire time he'd been spending tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars polling to ensure that the things that he was enforcing were in fact popular, and yet he kept facing the press saying, I'm here to do what's right, I'm here to make the hard decisions. That's exactly what Albanese's doing now, but it's time that we realise it's worked. Yes, he lied, but it's worked, and he's not lost any votes.
I'm here to make the tough decisions that the opinion pollsters have told me that you want me to make. It's just so hypocritical and paradoxical. Let's go to something completely different. This is unfolding in Sydney at the moment, but it's an issue that is rife around the country, and that is where some of the private schools that are single sex are going co-ed, and some of the parents are reacting badly. This is happening at Newington College in the inner west of Sydney. Wouldn't be too far from Albo's electorate, Newington. And it's always been a boys' school. They're going co-ed, and have a listen to some of the parents turning up on day one.
Stakeholders weren't properly gauged for what they felt, and we feel the process was a sham.
Well, I'm an old boy of the school, and my son is also an old boy. And the intention was always that I'd have a grandson, but I won't bring him to a co-ed school.
Basically, they've been selling the parents a lie for many years.
Jeepers, I didn't realise it would be that emotional, Liz. You can understand why some people want that choice. If you choose single-sex school, you want it to stay that way. But you can send them to a single-sex school elsewhere if yours changes, I suppose.
But these guys feel cheated, and it's not something that many Australian families are familiar with. It's very much an American thing, actually, definitely in the UK as well. But these kind of heritage schools where my great-great-grandfather went here, and his son, and my father, and now myself, this has been an all-boys school for 160 years. That's an institution. You can understand why people are now very much shocked at this. They weren't consulted. They were barely given a heads up. This was a decision that was made at a board level and then has been foisted upon them. And for some people, it's a real part of their identity. I know my grandfather, he went to an all-boys school, and that old boys club, like it literally is, now I look after you and your son went to this school and therefore we have... It's an
is that a good thing
for people?
Is that a good thing or a bad thing, Justin? What are your thoughts?
Look, I think it's really stupid. There are plenty of co-ed schools that people can send their children to. It's not like we have, you know, all boys schools and there's like 2 all girls schools and they're the only choices you've got. There are a lot of co-eds. I don't really understand why they're doing it. I mean, personally, we sent our girls, we've got 2 girls, and we sent them to an all-girls school. It wasn't just because it was an all-girls school, but because the school seemed to be right for us. But we kind of liked it and it worked. But that was our choice, and people are able to make a choice with this place. I think it is it's a really stupid decision, and I think they're going to pay for it because it doesn't look like anybody was asked the question.